Hi everyone, my name is Hunter Atterbury and I'm currently a senior at the University of South Florida studying a Bachelor's of Science in Marketing. And today I'm going to be giving a Tableau presentation over the data set that I was given and then develop 5 key insights from the data analysis. Just before we begin, I want to highlight my U number so that way we can track this. And let's begin. So the data set that I was given was from the video game FIFA, and to minimize the overwhelming set of data that I was given, I decided to filter the data through what is considered the top 9 countries across the world, being Argentina, Belgium, Brazil, England, France, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, and Spain. From there, when I filtered the data, I was supposed to develop 3 graphics, an interactive dashboard, and then show that it was interactive and talk about the 5 key insights that I want to focus on. So I thought a good starting point would be with my first graphic here being the top 9 countries overall rating. As we can see here that with the overalls of these teams, that Brazil and Portugal had the highest, and then at the very bottom is England by a very, very large margin. So with that in mind, I wanted to then see if there was maybe a correlation between the overalls of the team and the respective average ages. So when we look at the second graphic here between the ages, we can see that there was a direct correlation between the overalls of the players and the age of the players. So we can see that Brazil, being one of the highest overall rated teams, also had one of the highest average ages. Portugal, with having one of the third highest ages, also had one of the highest overalls. You can see that there's a lot of teams that are very similar in age. You can see that there is, once again, there's some general correlations, but for the most part, it is a direct correlation between overall and age. That's the first key insight. The second thing I want to focus on is then after that, let's see if there was a correlation between age and potential. So once again, I went down to my third graphic here and wanted to see if there was another general correlation or direct correlation between age and potential. And what I found was that, once again, there was another correlation between age and potential. As we can see that there is a high average age for Brazil. They have a high potential. Same with Portugal for having a higher average age. They also had a very high potential. So that my second key insight being that there is this correlation between the average age being older having a higher potential. The third key insight I really want to highlight here is that while there was correlations between overall and age and potential, there was not a correlation between overall and potential. A great example of this is when we look at Belgium, for example. So Belgium, being one of the middle of the road overall ratings, had one of the highest potential ratings out of 74. Compared to, if we're going in that case, then technically England, with a much lower overall rating, should technically have a much higher potential. So that there is not a real big correlation between overall and potential. It is more in the fact that overall has a correlation to age, or higher overall has a correlation to higher age, which correlates to a higher potential. So there's the middleman there. Another insight I wanted to really bring up within this data set is that there seems to be a minimum threshold that exists for these correlations to happen. And that really comes from this age data set here. We can see that with England and France and Belgium and the Netherlands, that they all are relatively similar in age. But England is substantially lower when it comes to overall and when it comes to potential. But when it comes to France, for example, France has a much middle of the road overall and a very high potential. So that there seems to be a minimum threshold that exists between this age here that would somewhat correlate overall and potential together. The last key insight I want to focus on is that the data set, as far as it goes, seems to have a very normally distributed when it comes to potential and age, but then when it comes to things such as the overall, you can see that the data is skewed to the left or right just a bit. So overall, you can see that within this data set, there is some data that is, with the charts, that is screwed, but that's just really what it's focusing on. Once again, I want to thank you for your time. That is my presentation, just analyzing the FIFA data set. I hope it's provided some great analysis for you, and have a wonderful day.